My beloved child, pause and listen to me in this very moment, for there is something I must speak with, the solemnity of the one who sees farther than your sight and loves you deeper than you have ever loved yourself. You are standing near a turning you thought was an opportunity, a solution, an open door. But in truth, it is a zone of danger, a place that could pull you away from the holy identity I placed in you from the very beginning. I have seen your heart waver. I have seen your mind pulled in two directions. I have seen you try to convince yourself that you are strong enough to control what is trying to draw you in. But my child, it is precisely because you are precious in my eyes that I will not let you step into anything that could wound your soul, even slightly. You are hearing this warning not because I want to forbid you, but because I am saving you. I call you to stop, not to slow you down, but to keep you from a direction where just a few more steps could cost you what I have planted, cost you the light you have just received, cost you the purity I have just restored. I know you are longing for direction, longing to touch something new, longing to see a door open immediately. But you do not yet understand that the enemy always chooses the moment of your impatience to place before you a beautiful detour, a quick road, an easy opportunity. Yet inside it hides thorns that demand a price far greater than you imagine. I see the traps hidden beneath sweetness. I see what you cannot see. And because I see, I block. You may ask me, why block me when I thought I was going the right way? And I will answer with tender depth, because you see only the step in front of you. But I see the entire road. You see the comfort of the moment, but I see the drift behind it. You see emotions pulling you forward, but I see the true motive standing behind that door. You do not know that something arriving at the right time is a blessing, but arriving at the wrong time is a snare. You are not wrong for feeling stirred, for feeling uncertain, for wanting to step. You are simply missing heaven's perspective, and I will be your eyes. Hold this truth clearly every time I stop you. It is not rejection, it is protection. When you think I close a door because I do not want good for you, you are not seeing the full story. You think you are being held back, but I am holding you away from something that could fracture your soul. You think you are being slowed, but I am keeping your pace from spiraling into chaos. You think I restrain you, but I rescue you. You think I make you lose opportunity, but I am keeping you for the true one. I will not let you trade a kingdom future for a momentary feeling. You were written for something far greater than that. I call you back not to return you to the old, but to return you to your true identity, an identity not built on the approval of others, not pulled by the cravings of a moment, not deceived by things that look beautiful but rot from within. You are called to walk in the light, and any path that dims you, I will block, not because you are wrong, but because you are set apart, not because you lack, but because you bear heaven's mark, not because you are weak, but because you are destined for higher places. You are entering a time in which I need you to be as sensitive to my warnings as you are to your breath. Every time your soul feels heavy, that is me. Every time your peace disappears suddenly, that is me. Every time something looks right but unsettles your heart, that is me pulling you back. I do not want my voice to be the last voice. I want it to be your guide. And today my voice says, turn back. For what lies ahead is not for you. You will ask, then where should I go? And I will answer, toward what I have written for you. You do not know how many pages that manuscript holds, how many chapters, how many turnings, but I know, and I am leading you back into its rightful flow. Your holy identity is not built on impulse, it is built on choice. You are not meant to be led by urgency, you are meant to be led by my spirit. You are not called to live by what you want right now, but by what I wrote from eternity. I will not let you drift from destiny so easily. I will not let any wrong pull claim you. I stop not to hinder, but to keep. I warn not because you have failed, but because you are precious. I speak sternly not to frighten you, but to awaken you. And when you awaken, you will look back and thank me for every time I said no. For each no rescued your life from wounds you never imagined. Come closer to me now. For what I am about to say is not for your mind alone, but for your heart, so that every tension within you dissolves like mist under sunlight. You have heard my warning, but now I want you to understand the reason behind it, not a reason rooted in fear, but in love. I call you out of danger not because you have stepped wrongly, but because your heart is soft enough now to hear me deeply. I know what makes you tremble, what makes you hesitate, what makes you feel pulled in two directions. And I do not blame you. I only want you to know that I never leave you to swim alone in the chaos of emotion. I touch your emotions not to turn them, but to heal them. You must understand that a danger zone is not necessarily a place of sin. Sometimes it is simply a place you no longer belong to. It may be a relationship that stirs your emotions but does not grow your soul. It may be a path that looks right but carries no breath of heaven. It may be a choice born out of emptiness rather than calling. And because you have been pulled off course by such things before, I do not want you to fall into them again. You are more precious than you realize. You are more fragile than you admit. And you are destined to go farther than what you currently see. I call you back not to make you lose anything, but to protect what within you is about to bloom. See this through my light when you stand near the wrong turn. It is not only your direction that shifts, your identity is pulled out of alignment as well. Every choice you make pushes your soul into a space either closer to me or further from me. And you are standing in a very sensitive moment. One wrong step can open the door to things that do not belong to you. I do not call you away from the danger zone because you are weak. I call you because you are in formation. A tender sprout is easily taken by the wind, but also easily lifted by heaven. You are the sprout of a new season, and I must shield you from the wind. Understand something few people know. I do not only save you from what is harmful, I save you from what is almost right. Almost right is the most dangerous. It looks like opportunity but carries misalignment inside. It looks like blessing but bears no mark of my hand. It looks like guidance but rises from motives that are not yet healed. You have followed almost right before, and you paid for it with exhaustion, with tears, with self-blame, with nights in which you did not know where you had gone wrong. This time I will not allow it. I block because I love. Let me shine deeper into the part of you you often avoid. Sometimes you follow what makes you feel filled, not what leads you correctly. You are drawn at times to quick attention, quick affirmation, quick opportunity, quick emotion, but what comes quickly often leaves quickly. What I give comes in the right time, the right rhythm, deep enough and real enough to stand firm. I do not want you to trade your holy identity for temporary comfort. You were not born to live by the rush of emotion. You were born to live by the stillness of divine will. You must also know that danger does not always come from the outside. Sometimes it comes from within, the desire to belong, the fear of being left behind, the emptiness not yet healed, the weariness that makes you cling to anything that gives the illusion of closeness. I do not blame you for these things. They are not sins, they are wounds. And I will not allow wounds to lead you to the wrong person, the wrong direction, the wrong door. I block to heal. I pull you back to hold you. I say no to keep you inside heaven's yes. Imagine your soul as an instrument I am tuning. One string slightly off can distort the entire song. You think your misalignment is small, but I hear the vibration within you. I know which part is stretched too tight, which part is too loose, Which part is pulled by fear? Which part is driven by emptiness? I do not adjust you through force. I adjust you through the gentleness of my hand. I do not cut away what you hold. I simply remove what no longer fits so you can receive what is right. See this with spiritual eyes when I pull you out of a danger zone. I am also pulling you closer to me. I am not only saving you from what is wrong, I am opening you into what is right. You are not merely avoiding harm, you are walking into goodness. You are not only leaving an old turn, you are returning to the path written for you from heaven. And that path is not a path you guess, it is designed specifically for your breath, your nature, your calling, and your destiny. Your holy identity is not something you must labor to build, for I placed it in you long before you knew how to name yourself. But when you walk too close to danger, that identity is muffled by the voices of fear, emotion, and human expectation, making you believe you are drifting from what is true. This is why I call you back, not to limit you, but to quiet the noise so you can hear my voice again as clearly as your heartbeat. And when you hear me that clearly, you will realize that I am not merely pulling you away from a wrong turn, I am bringing you back to the very essence I placed in you from the beginning. You are not being pulled out to be punished, you are being pulled out to preserve what is sacred within you. You are not being held back to lose anything, you are being held so what I am building in you remains intact. You are not leaving the danger zone to become smaller, you are leaving to become true to the form I wrote into your destiny. And I will walk with you through every step of this return until you stand firm on heaven's path, steady, unhindered, unswayed by any false call, because once my voice becomes the center again, it will always lead you exactly where you belong. Let me open the eyes of your spirit, for there are things you can only understand when you look from heaven's perspective, not through old experiences or what your natural eyes can see. You are standing at the crossroads of a new season, where everything in your life has been shaken just enough for me to redirect you, yet quieted just enough for you to hear my voice more clearly. I did not pull you out of danger so you would stand in an empty space. I brought you out so I could set before you the heavenly path whose full length you have never seen. You see only a small portion, but I see the entire blueprint. And today, I will let you glimpse a few of the lines I have already engraved onto your journey. See that the heavenly path is not a road paved with flowers, but a road where light appears with each step. And that light appears only as you follow my voice. You once believed you needed to know everything ahead of time to avoid missteps. But heaven's path is not illuminated by a map, it is illuminated by step-by-step obedience. Every time you choose to listen to me instead of your emotions, you step correctly. Every time you choose peace over haste, you step correctly. Every time you come back to me in the midst of inner storms, you step correctly. You mistook returning as weakness, but in heaven's eyes, that returning is the strength that keeps you aligned with the path. And every time you do this, your holy identity is rebuilt like a wall of light rising stone by stone. You must see this through light. Your holy identity is not a special garment I place on you during spiritual highs. It is the deepest core of who you are, the source of every voice, every choice, every reaction you express. When that identity is veiled, your soul becomes vulnerable, easily swayed, easily pulled toward voices that do not belong to me. But now, because you have returned from the danger zone, I am restoring that identity like someone wiping a mirror so you can see your true reflection again. You will notice you are not the same, not because you force change, but because you are being brought back to the place where you truly belong. There will be moments when this feels like spaciousness in your chest, a quiet light spreading inside you, a sense of rightness you cannot name. That is my voice. That is the confirmation that you are walking again on the heavenly path. You will watch urgency disappear, the fear of being wrong settle, and confusion fade. You will recognize that the things which once tugged at your emotions no longer hold the same authority. This is the sign of identity growing again. You do not grow by age. You grow by the light I breathe into your soul. Understand that the heavenly path is not an invisible trail. It is like a river, and your soul is the boat placed upon its flow. When you drifted into danger, your boat moved into swirling waters, and I had to pull you out not to punish, but to bring you back to the main current. Your main current flows according to the direction of the Spirit. Your main current carries life, peace, and light. Your main current is guarded by heaven's armies, guided by the Spirit of truth, and lifted by divine purpose. When you return to that current, everything in your life begins to align. Scattered pieces find meaning. Old questions find answers, and what was once vague becomes clear. This is not coincidence. This is the heavenly path coming back into operation. You must also see that there are things I withhold from you for a time so you will not lose direction. I close certain doors not because they are wrong, but because the timing is not right. I keep you from certain people not because they are bad, but because they do not walk at your spiritual rhythm. I slow certain plans not to punish you, but to protect what is being formed within you. Sometimes my protection feels like delay, but when your spiritual eyes open, you will see it as mercy multiplied. Your holy identity will begin to reveal itself in the smallest actions, in the way you speak, the way you choose, the way you stay silent, the way you walk. You will notice yourself responding differently, lighter, deeper, less fearful. You will no longer be swept up by the noise of others, no longer need external affirmation to know your worth, no longer chase attention to feel alive. This is because you are returning to yourself, the version I wrote before any wound, mistake, or earthly voice touched you. And when you reconnect with that version, you will realize you no longer need to compare yourself with anyone. You only need to walk the path that belongs to you. Let me open your eyes to one more truth. The heavenly path always moves through two realms, stillness and light. Stillness allows you to hear me. Light allows you to see direction. And you are beginning to enter both. You will feel peace like a soft mist around your heart, not because everything outside is calm, but because I am at the very center within. You will feel clarity, not because you know the entire future, but because you know the one who leads it. This is the seal of your holy identity being restored. Remember this deeply. You are not being taken back to where you were. You are being placed exactly where I wrote you to be. Not a single step on this journey is wasted. Not a single moment of listening to me is meaningless. Not a single redirection I make is without purpose. You are returning, but not to an old place. You are returning to the true place of your soul. My child, now that the holy identity within you has been renewed and the heavenly trajectory has begun to appear more clearly before the eyes of your soul, this is the moment I grant you authority to step boldly into the new season I have prepared. I do not want you to merely stand and know that you have been restored. I want you to use that restoration as the foundation upon which you advance. There are things that open only when you move, and there are doors whose hinges turn only when you take one more step. You have spent enough time being healed, being illuminated, and being redirected. Now I desire to place a new steadiness in your feet, a new authority in your hands, and a certainty in your soul that no earthly voice can shake. Receive this truth. Restoration is not the destination. It is the preparation for the substance of destiny. I did not pull you out of danger so you could remain still. I rescued you so you could move faster, move correctly, and move deeper into what you once never dared to dream. When you are returned to your true identity, every spiritual resource of heaven begins to align with your life. What was once heavy now becomes light. What once frightened you now loses its power. What once confused you now becomes replaced with clarity from above. This is not because you have become more skilled, it is the sign that I have placed authority upon you. I want you to rise from the low places where you once shrank back out of fear of being wrong. You will no longer walk like one groping in darkness. You will walk like one who knows the light goes before them. You will no longer plead for guidance like someone lacking. You will move as one who has been entrusted. You will no longer react out of fear of losing. You will act out of the knowing that you are held. I want this steadiness to become the rhythm of your steps. Not a steadiness born of emotion, but of true knowing that I walk with you, that I surround you, that I establish your foundation, and that I open your path. You must understand that the power I place upon you in this season will not operate while you remain still out of fear. It flows only when you move. Just as a river flows when its waters are released, my power within you begins to move when you dare to step into what I call you to. Not large steps, but right steps. Every right step will open the right gate. Every right gate will lead you into new territory. New territory will create new opportunities. New opportunities will awaken new abilities within you. Everything begins with one step, the step taken in my breath. I am not only guiding you, I am empowering you. Empowering you to speak the right word and to stay silent at the right moment. Empowering you to close doors that do not belong to you and to open the ones I have decreed. Empowering you to stand firm when the world's noise shakes you. Empowering you to see truth more clearly than emotion. Empowering you to choose heaven's direction instead of the direction of men. And above all, empowering you to enter your destiny without asking permission from fear. You do not yet know how strong you become when you walk in your true identity. You do not yet know how light you become when you no longer carry wrong detours. You do not yet know how radiant you become when I place my light in your eyes to see far beyond what human sight can reach. I call you into a new dimension of obedience, not obedience born of fear, but obedience born of trust. When you trust me, you will no longer rush after the urgent noise inside your heart. You will know when to wait and when to advance. You will know when to close your heart and when to open it. You will know what comes from me and what comes merely from emotion. Your spiritual discernment is being sharpened more than ever because your renewed identity has restored the ability to hear me, an ability you once lost when you stood too near the place of danger. Let me speak to you with the certainty of the one who opens the way. You are not entering this season alone. You do not need to lean on old experiences. You do not need to strain to understand everything. I go before you to open the path. I walk beside you so your feet do not slip. I guard behind you so nothing can pull you backward. You are surrounded by my covering. And because of this, no turn can pull you off the path I set. No voice can drown out mine within you. And no hand can hold you back from what I open. Now is the time for you to enter the heavenly trajectory as one who knows they are sent, not one wandering in search of direction. Every internal conflict has been unbound. Every wrong voice has been silenced. Every dark place has been illuminated. Every fear has been softened. Every wound has been washed. You are now one who has passed through the fire not to be burned, but to emerge brighter. And when you are brighter, you see more accurately. When you see accurately, you walk farther. And when you walk farther, you carry what I entrust to you in this season life. Light. And the call to awaken those who stand near the same places of danger where you once stood. Open your heart once more. For what I am about to breathe into you is not meant to increase your understanding, but to increase your life. When someone has just stepped out of danger, they often believe that safety is enough, but for me, safety is only the beginning. I do not want you merely to avoid what is wrong. I want you to enter the fullness of what is right. That is why I lead you into the deeper part of this journey. Many times you think you are fine simply because you have escaped the wrong path. But I see the trembling layers still inside your soul. the empty spaces not yet closed, the subtle voices that still try to pull you back to where you came from. I do not want you to live at the level of not wrong. I want you to live at the level of aligned with my will. I want you to enter fullness, not merely escape danger. And for that fullness to take shape, I must pour oil into the places you once only dared to glance at. You must understand that the restoration of identity is not a moment, it is a flow. When you chose to turn back from the danger zone, you opened the door, and I began to enter. I do not enter like a strong wind. I enter like warmth. I do not touch with a shout. I touch with light. I do not change you in a single day. I change you in small layers, so your spirit is not shocked, so your soul does not break, so you can fully receive all that I am doing. In this slowness, I am rewriting the lines that danger once blurred. I am rebuilding the spiritual backbone within you. I am realigning the direction of your heart. I am clearing your eyes so you can see my will clearly before you act. Think of what I am doing as the coming of dawn. Dawn does not arrive with an explosion. It arrives with a thin line of light. That line appears so softly that anyone in a hurry will miss it. But to the one who watches, who waits, who pays attention, the entire sky begins to shift. The light within you is changing in the same way. It is not loud, not abrupt, not overwhelming. It comes through the small changes you notice when you calm down, when you grow still, when you realize your heart is no longer being pulled in the old direction as before. This is the sign of restoration. When true identity returns, your soul realigns by itself. When heaven's direction shines into your heart, everything else begins to fall gently into its rightful place. You must also recognize that the silence I place in your heart during this season is not emptiness, it is protection. I quiet the voices that make you restless. I quiet the voices that distract you. I quiet the voices that pull you away from what I have written. Many times you feel alone. But that is not the absence of people. It is heaven's arrangement to keep you from being pulled off the path of restoration. I need you in a quiet place long enough to hear me clearly. I need you in stillness long enough for the small fractures in your soul to heal. I need you away from noise long enough for you to discern what is truly mine from what is only the echo of old emotions. There are moments when I see your heart anxious because you are unsure whether you are moving too fast or too slow. But understand this, I do not measure your journey by speed, I measure it by the accuracy of your direction. One who moves fast but is off by 1 degree will drift far from the intended destination. One who moves slowly but in the right direction will arrive exactly where I intend. You do not need speed, you need alignment. You do not need strength, you need truth. You do not need to prove that you are advancing, you need only to listen and step after my voice. I do not want you living under pressure to be better, I want you living in the truth that I am guiding you daily. I also want you to understand that what I am doing inside you is more important than what you see outside. The outside may not look changed. The door you wait for may still be closed. The confirmation you hope for may not yet arrive. The signs you expect may not yet appear. But inside, I am laying a new foundation, a new identity, a new discernment, a new faith, a new direction. And everything outward will shift once the inner foundation becomes strong enough. I do not build houses on soft ground, I build on rock. And you become that rock when you yield to my leading. When your identity stands in the right place, every door opens as easily as breath. When your identity is firm, you no longer need to chase blessing, blessing begins to chase you. Let me tell you this with the gentlest truth. You were not called out of danger because you were weak. You were called out because you are too strong to waste your life in places that do not belong to you. You were not pulled away from the wrong path because you lacked wisdom. You were pulled away because you are too precious to invest your future in things with no root in heaven. You were not separated from the old because it was bad. You were separated because you have outgrown it. What once held you can no longer contain you. What once fit now feels tight. What once felt comfortable now feels heavy. This is not failure, this is maturity. And I do not only want you to know this, I want you to feel it in every breath. When I called you back, I held you in arms that are soft yet strong. When I stopped you, I stood before you like a wall of fire. When I pulled you, I did it with the gentleness of the one who knows you more deeply than you know yourself. And as you walk deeper into this season, you will feel my nearness closer than any season before. Not because you pray more, but because you grow still more. Not because you are stronger, but because you allow me to be strong in your place. Not because you are more worthy, but because I have chosen you. You are being placed in a process that no one can complete for you, yet no one can take from you. The calling out of danger is not a warning. It is a declaration that I am repositioning your life so that every step you take from here carries the imprint of heaven. And what I reposition, no one can undo. What I direct, no voice can distort. What I name, no darkness can erase from your soul. Open your heart further, for the place I am taking you next is like the final warmth of day, where the light is no longer bright but soft and deep enough to seep into the places you did not know were still wounded. When a soul is freshly brought out of danger, it often carries the echoes of old fear, the reflexes formed during the seasons when you had to protect yourself. And I know those echoes do not disappear immediately. That is why I lead you into this deeper layer to soothe each place, to heal each layer, and to warm every corner still cold from things not of me. You do not need to be strong here, you only need to be real. You do not need to appear calm, you only need to let me enter. In this space, I do not steady you through discipline, I steady you through nearness. And nearness does not make your soul dependent in weakness. It makes your soul stand right and stand tall. And in that nearness, you begin to feel clearly that I have always been here, even in the moments when you thought you were abandoned at the crossroads of your emotions. Let me speak this into you like oil flowing gently into your soul. You are not merely being pulled out of danger, you are being drawn into a sacred safety I prepared long before you ever knew how to name your loneliness. You do not realize that many of the things you call confusion are simply signs that your soul grew so accustomed to wrong voices that, when the right one came, it felt unfamiliar. I do not blame you for that. A wounded soul cannot receive truth without trembling. But I see your trembling not as weakness. It is the sign that you are awakening. And when the soul awakens, it becomes more sensitive to light than in any season before. You must also understand that the protection I place around you is not only to keep you from wrong turnings, but to keep your pace from being pushed by emotion. Emotion is fast, but my kingdom is steady. Emotion changes with the day, but my purpose for you does not shift with the wind. Emotion can take you far within an hour, but purpose will take you far for a lifetime. Do not fear your slowness. Your slowness is my rhythm. A soul that is led rightly is never rushed, it simply listens. And when it listens, it knows when to step. And when it steps, it does not misstep. And when it does not misstep, it moves faster than any hurried heart. I am leading you to a place where everything that once distracted you now has no claim on you. Not because those things disappeared, but because you no longer belong to them. When identity is restored, the foreign things fall away without your effort. Connections that are not yours fade on their own. Voices that once confused you now sound distant. Paths that once stirred you now look dull to your eyes. It is not because they changed, it is because your eyes have been washed. And when the eyes of the soul are washed, it sees clearly that the things it once called destiny were nothing more than passing emotions. I am not teaching you to live by emotion, I am teaching you to live by light. You must know that when I call you out of danger, I do not only save you from the wrong, I make room within you so you can hold what is right. The right cannot coexist with the wrong. Light cannot coexist with dimness. Truth cannot coexist with beautiful but dangerous detours. Destiny cannot coexist with choices that bend the heart away. I do not want you trying to carry both and call it balance. A balance between wrong and right will never hold. I want you to choose the light fully. For only when you stand entirely in the light will you be strong enough to enter the chapters I have prepared. You must also know that I am softening the places where pressure once made you hardened. Your trembling is not because you are weak. It is because old wounds are dissolving under my touch. When I heal a wound, it stings briefly. But afterward it becomes so light you cannot understand why you held it for so long. Fear is not as heavy as you believed. Urgency no longer presses as before. Confusion no longer pulls as fiercely. You are changing without effort, because I am the one changing you from the deep, not the surface. And what I change will endure far longer than anything you ever tried to change yourself. Let me take you to the deepest point of this process. You are learning to trust me without seeing the entire road. You are learning to follow my voice without needing evidence. You are learning to hear slowly, step slowly, feel slowly but truly. One who walks truly arrives. One who walks rightly reaches what I ordained. And when you reach what I ordained, you will see that every time I stopped you, it was never limitation. It was rescue from wounds you did not yet know you would suffer if you followed what was not yours. I also want you to know that there are things I do not let you keep, not because they are evil, but because they are not deep enough to follow you into the ordained season. Shallow things cannot enter deep places. Temporary things cannot enter eternal ones. Things beautiful on the outside but hollow within cannot enter the place I am taking you. You are being brought into the realm of truth, and only what is true may go with you. This is not isolation, this is refinement. A soul not refined will lose itself when lifted too high. I do not want you lost, I want you steady. And I do not want you merely steady, I want you bright. Bright enough to discern. Bright enough not to be deceived. Bright enough to know who comes from me and who comes from the emptiness of wandering. Bright enough not to call what is temporary destiny. Bright enough not to call emotion, my voice. Bright enough to know your worth so you do not entrust your heart to anything that carries no breath of heaven. Bright enough to know you are called to a place higher than comfort and more beautiful than the temporary. When you are bright, you will not wander again, my child. Here I want to speak the most tender and powerful truth of this journey. You are not being separated from danger. You are being separated into my safety. You are not being taken away from what is wrong. You are being led into what is right. You are not being shut out of old turnings. You are stepping into heaven's door. And when heaven's door opens, no earthly door can close it. No one can pull you backward. No one can declare you unworthy. No one can call you back to the old place. For I, the one who called you out, am the same one who will guard your steps to the end. And now, after everything I have healed, everything I have pulled you out of, everything I have illuminated, I want you to know that you are standing at the most beautiful point of the journey, the point where your heart is light enough, your eyes bright enough, your soul still enough, and your identity firm enough for me to place the weight of glory upon your shoulders. Not a weight that exhausts you, but a weight that aligns you. Not a weight that pulls you down, but a weight that lifts you into your rightful place. And as you continue walking, you will not only see that you are protected, you will see that you are led, used, strengthened, and sent. Step closer still, for what I am pouring into your soul now is like the final oil that completes the anointing of one who is called out and commissioned. This is no longer the season of healing. This is the season of establishment. Not establishment in the way of the world, but in the way of heaven, a steadiness that keeps your soul from being swayed by emotional winds, from being dragged by memories, from being shaped by voices that are not mine. This steadiness comes from knowing who you are, knowing where you belong, and knowing you no longer need to prove anything to anyone. Once your identity stands firm, everything else falls into place like a river finding its riverbed. When you stand firm, you no longer fear drifting. When you stand firm, you no longer fear losing. When you stand firm, you no longer fear not being enough. Let me deepen the peace within you, not a peace that comes merely from being far from danger, but a peace that comes from knowing you are held by a hand that never drops what I have chosen. You once gripped everything tightly because you believed that if you let go, you would lose. But now you are learning that what belongs to you will not leave. And what does not belong to you will not stay, no matter how tightly you hold it. That is freedom. That is the lightness I want your soul to carry as you enter the new chapter. When you are no longer bound by the fear of loss, you will walk with the strength of someone who knows their sky cannot be stolen. You will no longer fear getting lost. For I am going before you. You will no longer fear mistakes. For I have already set your direction. You will no longer fear being pulled back to the old place. For the old place carries no voice strong enough for someone who has been placed in new light. I also want you to understand that the separation you just experienced was not a limitation but an upgrade. An upgrade in how you see, in how you choose, in how you perceive my presence. When I pull you out of connections that are not yours, I am not making your world smaller. I am filtering it so you can step into the world designed for you. A world where people share your spiritual frequency, your depth, your hunger for light. A world where your heart does not have to strain to be understood, where your identity is not diminished, where your calling is not bent to fit someone else's expectations. I want you to enter spaces where your soul expands instead of shrinks. You have lived too long in places where you had to make yourself small. Now I want you to become familiar with places that make you grow. See this clearly, not every separation is a loss. Sometimes, separation is the first miracle of guidance. You cannot carry old things into the new chapter I am preparing. Not because they are bad, but because they do not carry the resonance of heaven. I never want you to choose between love and calling. I want you to have connections woven with both relationships that allow you to love rightly and walk rightly. The things I reserve for you will not pull you off course, will not tug you away from heaven, will not shake you out of your holy identity. You are worthy of such connections, and I will bring you to them. Now that you have reached the deepest part of your expansion, I want you to receive a truth that only those who have walked this path can truly understand. You are not called to live a life that is safe enough. You are called to live a life that is right with heaven. Safety is sometimes the fence that protects you from danger, but right is the compass that leads you to destiny. You have been brought out of danger, and now you must learn to live in what is right. Not the rigid rightness of rules, but the soft rightness of my voice, a rightness that brings harmony to everything within you, that leaves your soul unstrained, that makes your heart as light as stepping on morning grass. That is the sign you are walking in divine intention. May the Lord continually remind you to live each day in His faith and His love. Press follow and turn on notifications so you do not miss the sacred and meaningful messages He desires to speak to you. May God bless you. Amen.